Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
You think...
Is that all right?
Yes, perfect.
So you think it's...
So
the community were interdependent one another?
Well, they were more... like I was saying, one of my chums in school, his father was a truck driver, you know, and my father was a civil servant. And you know, you look at Bayswater, which is just one of the streets I lived on. The bottom of Bayswater was quite poor around Wellington, and was quite rich up around Sherwood Drive. And in the middle, people were sort of in the middle. And the communities were, I think they were more. They had more diversity and they had more integrity. Today, people live in their cars. I mean, we've built a new kind of a city that is much more sprawled out. You know, we have, and people now have 2 and 3 cars, and just 1 car. And so, I think we have to sort of, we have to redesign our cities so that they are more like communities and less like
huge cities,
or less like less dependent on the car. Like when I go to a suburban community, it's very nice. It's very pretty. You know, like wonderful parks and beautiful homes and great streets and nice shopping centers and stuff. But the trouble is, it's entirely dependent on cheap fuel, cheap gasoline. And if you don't have cheap fuel and can afford a car or 2, it's very difficult to live in those environments. And I think, to my mind, communities that make more environmental sense and more social sense and more economic sense.
So what you say is, in other hand, the best way for us to live better, the gasoline that growing and getting more expensive, it's better to go back to the streetcar.
Streetcar society, where people were less dependent on the car and they lived closer together. You know, like in my street here, for example, I was the first person in the street to move in with a university degree. It was all working people up and down the street, all kinds. You know, Italians, new Canadians, older Canadians, and those kinds of diverse neighborhoods, I think, have become less and less available to people.
But how could be then?
Because we can do it by, I think, for example, I don't think we should be building a tunnel on down the center.
Yeah, that's
I think it's a waste, a total waste of money. What we need to do is we need to put streetcars, good modern ones, along Carling, all the way to Canada, and all the way downtown, so that all those communities have a way of moving around that doesn't depend on a car. So you can go to the shopping, you can go to your job, you can go to the hospital on a fast streetcar, and the streetcars fill in. Unlike the buses, people want to get away from buses because they're noisy and dirty and polluting. But people like to live near streetcars because they're quiet and they're efficient. So all Carling Avenue will fill in if that happens with people and stores and businesses and new communities like the Somali community. Every new community can't afford to live in distant suburbs. They have to live in communities that are more compact, that are more self-sustaining. And I know I talked to some new Canadians, and they get very lonely, you know, when they move out to these places because they feel very isolated. You know, they're in their car driving to work. They're driving to see their family. It's a very isolated kind of existence. So I think if the Somali community, I would say the same thing for the Somali community as I would to any other community. If you want a city which is more social, which is less car dependent, and which is less costly to get around, then you want to vote for me. Because I'm the guy who's going to deliver that.
Okay, but the Somalis also have some issue that really more important to them. For instance,
Like what?
the city contracts. There's a lot of Somalis who are professional and also they own a little businesses. But they told me they have a hard time getting the city contract. So how that is possible? They said only usually it's been getting those community that is somehow closer to the community. So it seems to be the pariah of the community. They're not.
Well, the thing is, a lot of the contracts now are not competitive. Eh? Look at Lansdowne Park.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no competition there.
Exactly.
We got three kings of Lansdowne Park now: Greenberg, Schenkman, and John Ruddy. So you got so a park that used to belong to all of us now belongs to three people, and they will have the authority to contract out that whole place. All that work will go to those three people.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. The contracts, it's sole source. There's no competition. So, if I say all city contracts should be competitive.
Who are the three?
Well, they're Greenberg, Schenkman, and Ruddy. Three corporations. They're three families. They're three families. The Bill Schenkman, David Greenberg or something like that, and then John Ruddy. And those three guys are going. They have gotten a hold of Lansdowne Park without any competitive process. And
so they decide that.
They decide. If we sign, we haven't done it yet, but if we sign off Lansdowne Park, they become literally kings of Lansdowne. They will decide who works there, who doesn't work there, what they're going to do with it.
But the bill didn't pass it.
No, it's not through yet. It's close. It's getting close.
But you won't vote for it.
Oh, absolutely not. No. It's not a competitive process. It's not fair.
Okay. And the other thing also, the Somalis also concerned about the youth trouble.
Yeah.
Especially the kids that I spoke to a few days ago. Also, they are concerned what they call it's. I don't know if you're aware of what happened in Winnipeg the other day. There was a police who stopped young Somalis and was identity mistaken. That's what they call it. When they arrest them, and what's really a very sad humiliation. I don't know if you see it, if you go through it even, and I will send it to you if you give me your email. And it was very humiliating. But here in Ottawa also, a lot of you, they are concerned what they call it's a police harassment, and what according to them. And I asked them, why do you think the police will stop? Because I haven't been stopped. And random, perhaps maybe, I don't know what the reason is, but how I don't like the fact that really it's becoming a pattern, the young Somalis going to jail. Unfortunately, they are in a very large number of going to jail, getting in trouble. So how could we be able to really stop that pattern and give those young men, especially those young men, a hope, something they could see in the city? Obviously, the way I see it, and because of the family having not be able to get a good job, and the family is not going to be really sustained, and the kids are growing up or born here, they have a different mentality than us. So, what can you do to create at least an opportunity for those young kids over there, an opportunity that you could be able at least to contribute to society?
Well, I think you have to make them feel at home. I think it's really important. They've got to feel that this is their home and that we're all in this together, and that we will make a success out of life in Ottawa together. You know, there's no. Once you're in Ottawa, as far as I'm concerned, you're a resident of Ottawa, you're a citizen of Ottawa, and I think some of that comes naturally to all youth. Eh? Youth are, I mean, young men are, doesn't matter where you're from, what color your color is, young men are trouble. Yeah. You know, I mean, I was trouble when I was a young man. Yeah, I mean, it's just, so you've gotta realize that it's a fragile point in people, in especially young men's lives. I mean, wars are fought by young men. They're not fought by people like me. I'm old guys like me don't fight wars, but young men do. And they're so I think it's important to have a sense of community, that they belong to that community, And I think if anything is happening in a community that makes